Hello, everybody. Today we have a special guest, Matej Lančarič, who is a user acquisition consultant for video games, and he helped launch multiple games in his 8 years career. And today he will talk about how to soft launch game like a pro. And at the end of the talk, we will have question and answers, and you can ask via YouTube chat, or you can jump into Zoom call and you can ask live. And without further ado, I will give word to Matej.
Thanks, Rock. Thanks for the interesting introduction. So welcome, guys, and really happy to be here, and thanks for having me. So let's talk about today and why I'm here. So we will talk about some pre-soft launch activities that you should be thinking about even before going to the soft launch. Then I'm going to talk about the soft launch process, some creatives, framework, ASO activities, different UA channels that I work with in soft launch. And then there are some real-life questions that I usually get from other game developers, and I want to share this with you. So basically, let me also very shortly introduce myself. I've been in the industry for 8 years already. I work with different companies. I started at Pixel Federation in 2013. I'm from Slovakia, and I'm based here as well. And then, as Rob mentioned, in the last couple of years, I helped soft launch and global launch around like 20 games. So that's why I'm here talking about soft launches. So I hope you will enjoy. And then, definitely don't hesitate to ask as many questions as possible. I'm here for you guys today. So let's start with the pre-soft launch activities, and basically not only activities, but like the questions you should be asking yourself even before going to the soft launch. Like, hey, okay, so who is my target audience? Who I'm creating this game for? Is it the male audience? Is it the female audience? Younger, older? Who is my competition? Is the market already really saturated? What kind of game genre do I want to create the game in? Is it going to be a casual, puzzle-free, or a match 3, is it going to be hyper casual or mid-core or hardcore game? Do I actually have the team to create such a game? And what is my unique selling proposition? Is this going to be another clone on the market, or is it actually something unique? And also, do I have a marketing team or marketing capabilities to actually start scaling the game, or like growing the game and putting it into the market? And is it going to be in-app heavily driven game, or I'm going to use ads in the game? Because all of these questions are actually you need to ask yourself before going to the soft launch, so you know what you're going to work with. And not only asking these questions, but if you have already several concepts in your mind and in your head, then the beauty part of the gaming industry is that you can actually test these concepts even before putting it into the production, and ask your potential players how they feel about that, and take a look at the data and see what the data says, and make the decision based on data. So that the early market concept testing allows you to gain these insights and about the game concepts that resonates well with your target audience, and you won't waste time actually producing something that your target audience don't care, right? Pretty smart, right? So how does this actually work? And we did this team testing or concept testing before with several developers, and this is something that I did a while back at Pixel Federation, because we had this game Train Station 1, and we wanted to create a sequel to this with obviously Train Station 2, but we weren't pretty much sure like what kind of graphical design should we use. So we ran these tests on Facebook with the different themes, because obviously like in a company with 200 people, it's pretty tough to make decisions based on like what your colleagues think. Well, obviously you need to make decisions based on data. So we ran these tests, and then data showed us the way to go. And also it did go a little bit further than theme testing, and we wanted to be sure that using the proper name of the game on the sequel of Train Station will resonate also with the target audience. So obviously the Train Station 2 was our first choice, but we wanted to be sure and get back this by data. So we tried several different names, and obviously, well, Train Station 2 won, but you never know. And also, even like before going to the soft launch topic, so what you can do even before soft launch and with these tests, actually you can ask your players questions and show them survey after clicking on this ad, or like after clicking on the fake store page that you can create to mimic the store, and ask questions regarding the future game, and these can help you with a lot of questions that you might have. Yeah, that's like very briefly what you can do. Well, it's obviously a lot of other activities, but let's talk about the soft launch right now. So usually, like, why do you even do soft launch? Well, of course, you want to lower the risk of failure, because you don't want to like global launch the first iteration you have. You want to optimize the first time user experience. You want to collect player feedback as well and understand like how the game performs, A/B test tutorials here and there, and try to improve the numbers, of course, and understand your audience, how they behave, test different marketing channels and creatives. And obviously, like the ultimate goal is to achieve the lifetime value is higher than the CPIs. And if it's not, then kill the game is necessary, because kill the game and you can progress to another concept you might have, and take that opportunity. Because a lot of times I see that people just don't want to kill the game too quickly, and they just try to improve over and over again, and the improvement kind of like won't come. So killing the game as early as possible is actually a good way to go to get the opportunity and start producing something else. course. So, what I'm talking about the soft launch. So basically, this is an example of my friends from Czech Republic and how they actually improved their numbers, not only on the retention side, but also in terms of the monetization. So basically, from the first iterations until the final candidate for global launch, they improved pretty much everything. That's why we do the soft launches, so you can iterate on and improve the numbers. But when I talk to the soft launch, I usually try to divide the soft launch into the 3 phases. It's basically like all stages, like technical stage, retention stage, and monetization stage. And in terms of the technical stage, and this is like a technical test. So you want to be sure that the game you have out there and you put into the markets is a stable game. You want to identify and fix all the bugs and issues you might have, because let's be honest, even after a couple of months of development, putting a game into live environment is something different than a dev branch, and you need these real players to test the game, and so you can actually check if the tracking is working, if your tools and infrastructure is set up, if you collect data, and everything in regards to the technical stability of the game. And for these tests, it's pretty much very easy to set up and use Facebook to collect the data using tier 4 markets, meaning Philippines or Mexico or whatever else that has lower CPIs, because you don't want to spend a lot of money on these technical tests. It's really quick. You just need to be sure that everything is working, so you can start the retention stage and start actually acquiring valuable players. But you need to be sure, like 200% sure that everything is working correctly. And I've like 9 out of 10 cases, there was always something broken. But yeah, let's assume everything is working. Not assume, but like everything is working, and we are moving to the retention stage. So basically, in this stage, it's all about optimizing the product and checking the first-time user experience, the onboarding flow, and obviously retention on day 1, day 3, day 7, and day 28 as well. And in this stage, I usually start with the Google Play and an Android build, because it's easier and it's quick. Like the new iterations, the new builds are approved in like a matter of hours, days, as it was and it still is on the iOS. And in this retention stage, usually aim for tier 2 markets, which means in this case any European countries that might work for you. It depends on the target audience as well, but we will get that later on. And now in this stage, it's all about improving the retention, achieving the KPIs you set for this stage beforehand, and obviously like achieving these gaming industry benchmark, like day 1 40 or 50%, day 7 20%, and so on. This is something you need to have in mind. But also on the other hand, like if you have like day 1 retention, they're 30% or 40%. It's all about the ratios between the retentions, because I saw a lot of games with lower retention lower day 1 retention, but the very strong long-term retention. So you have to keep in mind also the ratios between the day 1, day 3, day 7, day 30 retention. And basically, if we are kind of like okay, and with the KPIs that on the retention side, obviously the retention is 50% or whatever else, and then we're moving towards the monetization phase, where we obviously check the monetization KPIs, right? So still, this stage is super important because we want to achieve the lifetime value of the player is higher than the CPIs, and we're measuring the lifetime values, the ROAS, return on ad spend, average revenue per user, per paying user, average revenue per DAUs, and also like the conversion to pay of all these players. And in this stage, actually, we're moving from the tier 2 markets to tier 1 markets, meaning using the markets with the higher potential payment behavior, or like the players that are actually paying more than in the other markets. That's why it's we call them tier 1, right? And in this stage, not only focusing on the Facebook, but also like trying to expand to other UA channels like Google UAC, Snapchat, Iron Source, Unity Ads, and whatever other network you can have in mind, or TikTok these days, to actually measure the LTV of different UA channels as well, because obviously Facebook has the highest quality, but you can find the pockets of the very high valuable players in the other UA channels that Facebook can't reach. So in this stage, this is the most expensive stage, because you need a lot of users. Depends on the conversion rate to payment. So you also have the paying users, so you can make statistically significant decisions. And obviously, in this stage, when the game team is already thinking about live ops and setting up offers, special offers in the game, that also helps pretty much in terms of the KPIs on the monetization side. And so these were like the stages that almost everybody's talking about. But how does it look like from the timeline perspective? Because sometimes I hear, so we've been in the development for half a year. We will be in soft launch for 1 month, and then global launch the game because it's already done. Well, yes and no. You still need some time for the first stage, the technical stage, and then what happens if the retention is really bad, even though you spend a lot of time in the development. You need to have this time to actually improve the game, and then global launch, and also like this time, take advantage of this time to see how the cohorts of the players are actually maturing over time, and see what can you expect after you go to global launch. So usually I try to aim for 2 to 6 months of soft launch. Depends obviously on the game, on the genre, and also depends on the actual company, of course. Yeah, I was talking about these tier 4, tier 2, and tier 1 countries, and but how do I think about the countries in general when I try to pick them for the soft launch? It's basically English. Are they English speaking? What's the English proficiency there? The device penetration, and obviously the payment behavior for the monetization stage. So, but this also depends on your target audience pretty much, because if you have the female-oriented game that has, you need to think about like what kind of countries would you use, because this, for example, is Poland. And Poland is one of my favorite countries in terms of the soft launches, because it's pretty big. You have a lot of Android devices there, and they would speak pretty much pretty good English. But then if you have a female audience, or female game, female target audience, then what you see on the left side is like the potential reach is like 46 people, which is insanely low. And you will see, you will hit the ceiling on the UA side pretty quickly. And for this type of target audience, Poland is probably not a good country. But on the other hand, if you check the male target audience, and you see like there is a lot of male players of the Clash of Clans, Fortnite, and whatnot, the potential reach of 300,050 people, it's actually pretty good. So this is something that also have a pretty big influence on the country mix you use in the soft launch for your game. But So for example, this is like the darts club soft launch countries that we had in the mix, and what we actually looked for. So we looked for like English proficiency. Also, we checked some CPIs, and also like what kind of Android users versus iOS is in these countries. But also what we checked is the genre popularity score. Well, we try to look at like how many people actually like darts in these countries, and also the monetization side of things. So we ended up using these type of countries in for darts club, for example. But yeah, from my perspective, like these are the most used to and go to geos that for any soft launch I have in mind. Of course, like depends on the actual target audience, but usually I start the technical stage in the Philippines, then moving to retention stage and using Poland, Czech Republic, or Slovakia. Well, I might be biased because of I'm from Slovakia, so that's why it's there. But the Czech Republic is already also like twice as big as Slovakia, and then with the pretty good players of games. And then adding Netherlands and Denmark, which is somewhere in the middle of tier 2 and tier 1 based on the monetization. But then in the monetization stage, I heavily use United Kingdom instead of the Canada or Australia. Well, it's mainly because the Canada and Australia is like fucking competitive. Really, 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 really a lot of players or like a lot of game developers are soft launching their games there. So the cost per install is just super high, and it's not worth it. Of course, like depends on the game and the company and their budgets. But anyway, I try to get away from Canada and Australia and rather use like UK, or very recently started using actually Germany as a tier 1 market, which also speaks pretty good English, and their payment behavior is also on par with the UK, or well, for some genres even on par with the US. So as I said before, basically using the Google Play as a starting point, and then adding iOS later on. And the Google Play also, like now you see the scary message there that because of COVID, you see longer approval times. It's still in hours, not in days. It was before. Well, a long time ago, it was 1 week on iOS. Now it's definitely better. But then on the Google Play side, there are still these Google Play experiments, and obviously in soft launch period, it's a very good time to start thinking about your App Store optimization strategy and doing your homework on the keyword research side, and start writing these short descriptions, long descriptions, but also testing as much as you can. Obviously, on the icon side or screenshot or the feature graphic, well, obviously the icon has the most like the biggest impact on the conversion rate, but also like the first 2 screenshots is the first thing that players see when they land in the Google Play store, and also the feature graphic. So it's like these elements have the highest impact on your conversion rates. Yeah, so here, we have these 2 games, Thanks a Lot and Seaport, that I managed before, and they started, give or take, on the same 17 or 18 or 19% of conversion rate, but then Thanks a Lot ended up 21 almost, and Seaport 27. So what's the difference? So basically, the difference was that Thanks a Lot was in soft launch for 3 months, and Seaport was 6 months. So we had more time to experiment with the different icons, different screenshots, and feature images as well. And also, like if you want, then you have enough data, enough traffic, then you obviously experiment with the short description, and then long description is really appreciated. Yeah, well, like. Okay, so how did we actually improve the conversion rate? Well, different angles, different ideas for the icon, trying to showcase that the game is about 3 versus 3, or well, yeah, and the game is about 3 versus 3, which definitely improved the conversion rate. So you can use whatever in the icon, and actually for screenshot there's that's little tip that you can use directly, which is changing the order of the screenshots, which also that also can help with the improvements of the conversion rates, because well, you already have those assets and the screenshots in the store, but shuffle the order and you can see pretty interesting results. And of course, whoops, hope you can see me still. Okay, so in terms of the soft launch and the BI team, and also like the game analytics and the game team, this is actually the time when you get pretty close with these guys, and you should, because you should have these discussions on a daily basis with the game team and the game analytics, so they can help you with the tools integrations, and you need to talk about the KPIs all the time, what you are measuring, and if you are A/B testing the tutorial, or if you are A/B testing anything else, then you need more traffic. They need to you need to work on dashboards so everybody is on the same page, and then ultimately in the monetization stage, it's really great to have before going global is to have any predictions, right? So like building the dashboards, obviously having all these interesting KPIs that everybody is actually measuring on the ROAS side, how much money we spend, what kind of improvements are there in terms of the weeks or months, and ideally like any break-even analysis you can have, so what you can expect when you global launch the game. And obviously like these are the smaller sample sizes, but it's definitely better than nothing. And also like these LTV predictions that I'm talking about, it all depends on the game's KPIs, and as soon as you can predict how all these cohorts will evolve and how they will behave, you can kind of like build the global launch budget around that. But how does it look like in terms of the UA strategy in soft launch? Right? I mean, this is like the Facebook is my go-to channel all the time. It's really user friendly. Well, in last days it wasn't that user friendly, but they always do make some changes on the background. But it's still the best quality UA channel out there, and obviously there is a lot of targeting possibilities that you don't have on the other UA channels. So basically, how I think about the targeting in the soft launch, well, usually starting with the broader audiences to get at least some data in, and then starting like building these interests based on either competitors or any broader interests like mobile games and online games, or I don't know, strategy games, whatever games you can think about. But then after you progress in the soft launch as well, obviously you would like to start testing also lookalikes. Because usually lookalikes are still like the best targeting possibility out there. Well, now with the introduction of automated app ads, it's slightly different, but it's still a good targeting option to have in the soft launch for sure. So basically trying to build lookalikes from people that launched the app or paid already, or launched the app 5 times in last week. So you want to target and build lookalikes from the engagement players as well, and combine and test them out, because these data and these insights are pretty valuable for you to build then the global launch marketing plan. And but how does it also look like from the optimization perspective? So starting with the mobile app install optimization, when we just optimize for the install in the first technical stage, of course, because don't need to optimize for anything else. You just want to collect data and see if tracking is working correctly. But then in the retention stage, you start moving from the mobile app installs to app event optimization. Because of course, like mobile app installs can get you pretty low cost players and low CPIs, but then you want to start optimizing for some events in the game or level 5 achieved, because these type of players, this is optimization for you to have better retention numbers, of course. And in the monetization stage, starting optimizing for purchases, because again, the KPI is purchase and it's LTV. So you can pretty much use the mobile app install optimization you can, but you won't get any LTV data that much because it's a different optimization and you will start getting a different audience. So this is like how I start thinking about the mobile app installs versus app event optimization in soft launch. And nowadays, when Facebook launched the AAA campaign, the automated app ads, I start to actually introducing this in the soft launch and in the stage 2, which is the retention stage, but also still trying to optimize for different events than the app installs. Also, when I mentioned in the monetization stage, basically start adding the more channels, because you need to diversify the UA channel mix, and you want to know what type of players and what type of KPIs you can expect from different channels before going global, because it's not that common that you will see that Facebook isn't working for you, but then you will see ad networks work, or Snapchat or Unity ads. Well, but you wouldn't know if you didn't test it beforehand, right? So this is like very important thing to think about also in terms of like the soft launch, the whole perspective of the soft launch process. Not only the UA channel mix, but also like the most important part, which is obviously on one side the targeting and the target audience, but then you understand the target audience and now how to prepare creatives for this target audience. And obviously it's all about the testing. And now I hope I can share those videos and it's going to work. So let's take a look at these creatives. Last video. Yeah, so in the creative testing, well, the creatives are all about the emotions, and here obviously I'm trying to play it funny a little bit and then use some humor in the creatives, but also in terms of these emotions and using different angles in creatives proves to be really much beneficial in terms of the numbers. And let's take a look at this one, which is slightly different creative angle than what we used before in this game.
It's tough life, One hero's no problem for me, but they are like earthworms. From one they always split into two, and at the end there is a bunch of them. They look all same to me, and every time I met them, they bring new shiny stuff. Also, I don't know why. They have some new glowy bits around. Oh, here they come. Got to return to my position.
And basically, like players really like these ads, and not using fake ads in soft launch is actually pretty good. And also not only because using the gameplay videos and the actual gameplay will get you real data and not fake data, because of course, like you can get pretty low CPIs with the fake ads pretty easily. But then you should check the retention afterwards, and usually you will see lower CPIs, but also lower retention. And and then it's all about like doing the math in the backgrounds. Yeah, well, in terms of the soft launch and the creative, like this is the really good time to start testing different angles and leveraging memes or trends, right? What are actually happening around you, and this is actually the Hiltro creative, which is on the right side. We started using this when the Witcher series came out on Netflix, and immediately saw really good numbers, and this creative actually exploded. And this gave us the idea of also using these trends and memes and trying to mimic the famous art and paintings, and using your game assets. Also, something to think about in soft launch to know what kind of numbers you can get as well. But in terms of like the videos and testing them in a structured way and using some kind of framework, and this is something that I borrowed from Google actually. And I usually test different like the beginnings of the video, and the first 1 or 3 seconds are the most important part, is the most important part of the video, and to attract the attention. But also, using the different navigating hands. We had one cat game that we use actual paw of the cat instead of the hand, which had a pretty good result. And also thinking about like very small details. And if you have a female oriented game, using a hand with like nails colored in different colors actually make a pretty big difference of what we saw in the creative performance. And also like different zooms, contrast, colors, different endings and whatnot. This is something that you can in music as well, even though like a lot of people says and claims that they don't browse the Facebook with music, but then we saw that different music, different results, and that proved to be very beneficial also like for the testing purposes. And also like getting inspired by different genres actually helps improve the numbers. Basically, this is the creative for the farming game, and the comparison of the creative we had before, and then we use this day 1, day 30. It's like noob versus pro anyway type of creative, and we saw a pretty big decline on the CPI side, and also like very high IPMs on the installs per 1,000 impressions. Sorry, which was pretty high for the casual game. So basically, thinking about the soft launch and going to global, usually try to check these type of things and have this like very short checklist. Obviously, like there are a lot of other things to think about. Like, if you're satisfied at day 1, day 7, and day 30 retention, players are converting to payers, you see a strong average revenue per user or conversion to payment. There is enough content to to sustain the game and to scale, and basically like the LTV is higher than the CPI. Or after talking to the business analyst and the game analytics teams, like if you hit the day 7 ROAS, 60%, then you will be profitable in 30 days. These are the things that you need to keep in mind when you want to global launch the game. Then I think like we are moving to the last part of the presentation and to some of the real life questions that I'm usually dealing with. And there are some like challenges in soft launch that we always see, like the CPI is increasing really quickly, and there is a lot of like not proper target audience and small reach, potential region, like stuff like this. So like you need to rotate creatives pretty quickly in soft launch, because again you have limited to geos, so the CPI will increase pretty rapidly. But having every week a new creative actually proves to be very good way to go. And also with the target audience, Facebook actually have this tab where you can expand the target audience automatically, which is working really well, at least for me. And then all these things like tracking is not working, retention is not good enough, and these are some challenges. And obviously tracking, as I said, like even after you move to retention stage or monetization stage, and with every new build, it can go wrong. So you need to keep that in mind. You need to check the tracking constantly, and also always there is the question like, when is the good time to launch globally the game? Well, obviously, like it's as soon as you hit the KPIs, then hit the gas and global launch the game if the company can afford it. But also this is something that I already spoke about on the previous slide. Like a lot of people think that they can just soft launch a game in 1 month and then global launch. Well, of course they can, and you can as well. It all depends then on the numbers you will hit, and if you're comfortable with 1 month soft launch, then of course go with it. But I would be a little bit more cautious, because you will probably end up spending a lot of money during the global launch because you are pretty confident that your game has pretty good KPIs. But are you sure you can get those KPIs in 1 month? You need to ask yourself this question. But also, different games, different strategies in terms of the UA. So, for example, looking at the PvP game, it's you need to run more campaigns or more UA channels to have a continuous spend to ensure the liquidity and proper matchmaking. So you will probably need more countries to do that, and more UA channels, as I said. But in terms of like non-PvP games or any casual games, you don't need to spend continuously. You can spend in cycles with a new build. You release a new build, you check the numbers, then you pause the spend, because you don't need to spend it all. You don't need to continuously spend, and again, you get numbers, assess the numbers, improve the game, and again start spending in cycles. And also, like for hyper casuals, usually it's this is like the time when you have the 1 month soft launch, or the game that you have 1 month soft launch, and it's using US, trying to get some numbers as soon as possible. Boom, if they are good, then launch immediately, so not all the other competitors start to make clones of your games. And how long should we be in the soft launch? And as I said, 2 to 6 months. That's just my preference and best practice when I saw the best possible numbers. But it all depends on your company. You can be in the soft launch for 2 years if you can afford it. It depends on the actual bank account of your company, and then based on the numbers. And if you can't improve the numbers for multiple months in a row and you are stagnating, then probably killing the game and moving on would be the best possible option, instead of launching the game and then wasting the money. And this is pretty easy, but these times documenting everything is actually the key. So you can, what did you change, what happened, how did actually that change impacted the numbers. I mean, this is, you can see that 2016 when there was no not big views of Trello, Favro, or whatever else. I use just these simple Google Sheets and we documented everything, and it was pretty useful when we wanted to look back and see what happened. And basically, what are the do's and don'ts in soft launch? And I think this will be the last part of the last part of the deck. So basically, testing and setting up and testing the integrations of the tools as soon as possible, and continuously testing it is very important. Setting the goals and KPIs so everybody knows what you are looking for and what type of KPIs you need to hit. Ideally, having a soft launch owner is very important because this person knows everything and is actually the owner of all the activities and the conversations between all the teams, marketing team, game team, and analytics team, and stakeholders or whatever. And ideally defining the kill factor of the game, or a kill factor for the game, so you don't need to speculate and discuss. Okay, let's do one more thing. And let's then decide. Well, you need to make decisions based on data and not emotion or assumptions. And obviously, like having a plan before going soft launch is a must. Without going to soft launch without having a plan is pretty risky because nobody knows what's going on. And I don't think expecting like the game will grow organically is a good thing to do. And there are still a lot of people that think that UA is not important in soft launch, but you need to get the players into the game. So you can wait for organic to magically happen or start spending money. Yay! Thank you for paying attention. Hopefully you are still here. And I think this is the perfect time for starting the Q&A.
Thank you, Matej. Oh, sorry, Istok. Thank you, Matej, for this really in-depth talk. You went over really a lot of details. And now you can just unmute yourself and ask questions via voice, or you can type it in chat. So go ahead, Istok.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, Matej, for this great. Can you hear me well? I forgot to set up my mic.
Oh, nice. So, better.
All right. So here you can see me. So you're not the only face here. So I have a couple of questions. First off, it was a great talk, and I really got a lot of things from it. But one thing I wanted to ask is when you set goals and KPIs for soft launch. So do you have any data you fall back to, or these just goals you want to achieve and don't go into it? Basically, do you test some stuff before and you know where you should initially stand and where you want to go, or do you basically are surprised by the first results?
Usually, there are some data available floating around in the industry, like where should you be? And obviously, like different genres have these different benchmarks. And then even if you're like using these benchmarks for setting up goals, then I'm always surprised when the first version comes out after the development, because what I've seen before is that we started actually with the first version like 10 or 15% day one retention, which was a very big failure of what we didn't expect that much, but then ended up like 50% because we saw that, like the loading times, for example, of the game were like 2 minutes and stuff like that. So usually I look at the benchmarks out there, which are available with the different tools, and then use some kind of like a mix of the knowledge from the industry and with these tools to set up the KPIs, and also like with the talking with the team, actually like what we are confident that we can achieve as well. So we set up the goal that is achievable, and not like setting up the goal of like 80% as like, oh well, it's probably not, we are not probably capable of doing that.
All right, but you don't do like any maybe fake videos or like faking mechanics just to see people reactions even before going to soft launch, stuff like that?
I do these concept testing before to actually like measure what you just mentioned, and then, but you know, for measuring like retention, it's you know, you would need at least some early gameplay. So I'm usually using these concept tests for trying to figure out like what would be the CPI and what would be the CTR, and which of the visual design is actually working better and stuff like this, not directly connected to the retention that much, like even before production KPIs.
So yeah, that was exactly what I was leaning to. So what are those earlier tests for? Example, what is the knowledge you already have at the beginning of soft launch?
Also, these tests usually tell me which theme to use for the target audience I have. So, for example, if I want to go with, I don't know, like fantasy theme or whatever different casual cartoony style for my game, that's something that I try to measure with these tests. For example, I have this for I don't know, like young male audience, and I want to use cartoony, I don't know, car game, and I try to measure that. Or do I want to use trains, or do I want to use, I don't know, submarines, whatever. And this is what I want to know before going to the production. And I'm measuring this for in terms of like the click-through rates on these ads. So I know like which of these themes actually resonates the best in the target, within the target audience.
And just out of curiosity, how big is the difference between like themes in a game?
Yeah, depends on the theme as well. I saw differences like in terms of like 2% CTR versus 4% CTRs, but then I saw also like the very small differences between these themes, like 0.2 or 0.1. So it really varies.
All right, thanks. I have another question. About the kill factor. So you said earlier that like first initial impression can be like 14% retention, and then you can boost it up to 50%. So when do you actually, okay, you have these goals that like in time spent or something like that you kill the game, but what during the testing stage? So during soft launch, are there some stats that can be so low, or do you think that like they can't be proved that you say, okay, so this can't be done, let's end it here? So like early termination, stuff like that.
Yeah, so this all ties to the, first of all, the bank account and how long you can be in the soft launch, and like how long you can iterate the product. And obviously there are some iterations of like the team has in mind, and you need to plan that out. So basically you are starting on like day one, 15%. And you have set the goal that, okay, so in the next 2 or 3 months, we want to be on 30. What are the steps? If after 2 or 3 months are not achieving this, then you can say like, okay, so are we capable of actually improving to this 30%, or we need to drastically change something? Let's give it a shot. And if this won't work, let's kill it and move on.
All right, thanks.
Any more questions? If not, I see that there's nothing on YouTube, but then I'll just ask few in between. I have like one question. Like you were talking a lot about like going for English-speaking markets, but do you sometimes also like localize games and like try like different markets, or?
of course, it depends on the capabilities of the team. If they can localize the game early enough in different languages, and then of course, like that also have impact on the country mix as well. But if don't, then I use only English speaking countries, and that's the main point of the country selection. But yeah, as soon as the team is capable of producing any localized assets, I definitely use them as early as possible.
And what are like your go-to like countries? Like, I mean, if you would have like top 3 countries to localize, which one would they be?
Yeah, well, I definitely go for Spanish localization. I saw very good numbers in terms of Spain for different types of games. Probably I would go also with Portuguese, because also you can use then Brazil, which is pretty big country in terms of the player base. And if you have the PvP game, then obviously that can help. And probably, let me think. Well, I would go with either France or German because of the tier 1 markets.
Oh, thank you. Like, but you
No,
also have,
also Slovakia or Slovenia language.
These are really like cool answers. I want to ask like next question would be like, what about like do you have any experience with Chinese markets or like?
Yeah, I tried to. Yeah, when I was at Pixel Federation, we tried to penetrate this market as well. But let's say the biggest adventure is a lot about texts and like translating that to Chinese. Well, so I was there. I'm not in the company for like 2 years, 2.5, and they started this porting Digis to Chinese in 2017, and now they launched it in China after almost 3 years. So it's pretty painful process if you have, of course, like this text heavy game, but also like if you have the PvP game or any mid-core title or hardcore title, that can actually work amazingly well in China. But also like I worked with one Canadian studio with the founders from China as well, and they localized the cooking game in Chinese, and it was like the best performing country on iOS. Like so far best country.
Interesting. And actually like that leads me like to next question. Like you, I mean, as far as I know, you like usually like consult companies, right? And
yeah, I work with several companies.
And how does that like dynamic like work? Do you come onto the project when it's in pre-production, or you come at the end, or like
depends. And usually, well, for this type of, well, let's talk about this cooking game. So they approached me when the game was in soft launch, and then we started working together, and then we global launched it, and now they were bought by one big Chinese company. So it's like, I don't have a preference. Ideally, like as soon as possible, so we can test out a lot of things and do all these pre-soft launch activities, because, well, not everybody is capable of doing that. You need to set it up. I mean, it's not a rocket science, but at least you need to know what to do. And then ideally in soft launch, so we also have this plan in place, and that's it. I mean, but I can jump in also after the global launch. It's just matter of the preferences.
cool. Yeah, if anybody else has like any other like questions,
yes,
you can jump in.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Hey, so I have a question regarding the measuring of CPI on Facebook. So to give you a bit of a short background, about 2 years ago, we made about 5 to 10 hyper casual games, and we did a standard thing: 1K users in US, measure, analyze, introduce some noise, change something, and do it all over again. And sometimes we made like super small changes. And the strange thing that I noticed is that CPI fluctuated a lot. So the deviation was really big. And it was a bit suspicious, but I didn't make anything of it back then. Then we made one big mistake, and we, in a course of 1 week, we published exactly the same game twice by mistake. And the difference was in CPI was about 30%, 40%. This was like, okay, so why are we even doing this? Did you come across this problem before, and how did you deal with it, and so on?
Yeah, the thing is, on Facebook, you need to count with the external factors as well, and the competition as well. And as soon as there is like a huge game that is launching or pushing the UA budgets into the game, then into the Facebook, then it influences the CPMs, and there you have the auctions, and it influences the CPI so much. This is something that I saw also like last year. I tried to actually test some concepts on the hyper casual side as well, but we had 6% CTRs, amazing, but they're like $3 CPI. I mean, they actually then we checked the CPMs, and we were seeing around like 40 or 50 CPM on Facebook, which in US, which was like insanely high. So this actually fluctuates a lot, and all these external factors that are in the auction and place, and also like depends on the actual month when you test, and also a week sometimes. And like the difference is, for example, in December is before Christmas, everything is expensive. After Christmas, like suddenly, of course, because all these e-commerce and like big brands stop spending that much, and suddenly you see very different CPIs and numbers.
But this happened to us around March, and it was like I said, just 1 week. And
nice.
I was thinking, how can you actually be ever sure that you counted out all the external factors, if you even can? And how can you even say like, okay, we improved the CPI by 5% or 10%? It's how do you really get the true gradient that you're moving on?
Yeah, that's why I try to have more than one UA channel in place, because as you said, like Facebook is unpredictable sometimes. Also like different UA channels, different CPIs, but also different LTVs as well. So you just need to keep it in mind. So sometimes these things happen on Facebook, and then you need to rely on the different UA channel, and that's how I try to go about it.
Okay. I said that, and then you can compare with others, and you can see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Another question is about the descriptions on Google Play, for example. Is there actually a known algorithm how this actually works, or we are just assuming how it actually works?
Yeah, there are some insights about like how it works. It changes almost all the time. So I don't know exactly. So, and if you're asking about the organics, then on Google, it's not only about the description and the conversion rate, but also like the number of installs in the recent days, and also I think retention and ANRs and crash rates as well. And it's like all different types of metrics that come in the algorithm that gives you the organic traffic.
Okay. Thanks. So it's also probably the frequency of specific words that you're trying to.
Also, yeah, of course, if you want to rank on the specific words, then of course it's the density of the keywords as well. If you use it in the name of the app, descriptions, and short and long as well, that also affects.
Okay. And one last question, or maybe a thought. Or experience from about 4 or 5 years even ago, even more. We made some ads on Facebook also for the mobile game, and we spent about 40 euros, I remember, and we got like 100 or 200,000 installs. I was like, what's going on? And we actually found out that they were all from India and all fake accounts. So did it ever happen to you? And I was researching a bit, and it seems that there's in India there's a lot of forums for this fake was it impressions, or they are just doing the ratings or whatever, and they have to distribute their impressions through a bit other random apps, so the algorithm doesn't pick them up.
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a wild west on Facebook. Very different things actually worked in terms of the marketing. But yeah, it's something that happened to me as well. And I remember the days when it was only like the right-hand side of the Facebook canvas desktop, and it was like very small marketing creatives that you could use, and then. Also, like a lot of semi-porno creative assets were still out there and still available, which is now definitely not possible. So, well, of course, yeah, these click farms and Insta farms, it's something that was very common those days.
Okay, thanks.
I have another question if there's no one else. So what are your impressions of playable ads? So do you use them?
Yeah, I definitely use them, not that much on Facebook. I don't see the proper numbers on Facebook for the playables, at least for the games that I managed before. More on the ad network side, which I think also like the playables are the main source of traffic for almost all the hyper casual games. On ad networks on Facebook, they didn't work that well for me in the past. Also didn't work that well on Google, but that's just my experience. So it's definitely a very good format. As soon as Facebook introduced that, it was very much used across the industry. Now I see definitely less playables on Facebook, but on other ad networks, definitely yes.
All right, thanks.
I guess one more question, and then we can wrap up if nobody else. Like maybe like question, like what would you like recommend to like some indie developer like who has like, let's say, has a game and they're searching for a publisher, like should they go, I don't know, with like Unity or like maybe like some traditional one that's like Boombeat, huge games, Crazy Labs, and so on?
Yeah, well, I would definitely read the fine print in every contract with publisher. Usually, it's all about what you have in the contract, and in terms of like the revenue shares and everything. And then I try to, think about how these people can actually help me if they will be involved, and how much they will be involved, and if they are friendly as well, and if they know what they are talking about, and just not over-promising and under-delivering. And definitely ask other developers that already have some relationships with what I have on my table in terms of the publishers before going to this, because sometimes like signing a deal with publisher is like signing a deal with the devil in themselves. So you need to be very much careful about that. And if I would just choose between the traditional or Unity or any other programs, I really don't know. I would just need to see the actual paperwork, and then based on that, I would decide.
Thank you. That's a really good answer. And with this, I think we finished this. We'll, I guess, have like just like casual mingling here, but I will like stop the live stream, and that's it. And again, thank you, Matej, for this really insightful talk.
Thanks. Happy to be here.